Clutter can make us completely overwhelmed. It is chaos. It's got to go. Let's start dealing with it today. Here is how I changed my life just by creating a supportive environment. I will tell you exactly what to do, start to finish. So the very first thing you need to do is recognize why you want to change and declutter in the first place, what's bothering you. Now, just wait. I'm going to get to some really, really good tips here. But this is really important because you can't really make a huge change, like a permanent change, unless you're really recognizing what is holding you back. So I want you to recognize what is bothering you about the clutter. And you could be like, well, the clutter, but really what's bothering you? Is it making you stressed? Is it making you anxious? Is it hard to focus? I could not focus with the clutter. When I was in nursing school, I went back to school when my youngest was 1, and I have 3 boys. And I had so much clutter that I literally had to leave. I had to go to the library to do my schoolwork because I could not focus. I felt like I should be working on the house, even though obviously I had to do my schoolwork. So I had to leave. And then when I graduated and I was coming back from the emergency department, really stressful job, I was coming home to a cluttered, messy house, and it was completely stressing me out, which is no way to live when you're a nurse coming back from the emergency department. You should be like snuggling those babies instead of like frustratingly getting them to bed and then feeling like you need to clean. That was my main reason, is it really interfered with my focus and it interfered with my relaxation. What's your reason? Is it that you can't focus? Maybe you have ADHD or another neurodivergency and you can't focus in a cluttered environment. Or you're just like a lot of other people who you just can't focus in a cluttered environment. And it is super distracting. Do you find that the clutter is super distracting for you? So let me know. That's number 1. Number 2 is a big one. And people always ask me, where should I start? So I have been coaching people with ADHD and I have been coaching people with decluttering. And number 1, I don't know where to start. I'm completely overwhelmed. And that makes so much sense. Like if you have a big job, like you feel ahead of you and you don't know where to start, it's like you're just like paralyzed and you just don't start. So for me, I was kind of funny when I started, and I started exactly where you shouldn't start. I started in our storage room. And so it was like a few years after we had moved to this house. And I remember I was going to my chiropractor and he was like, oh, everybody needs a box room where you keep your stuff. He's like, for at least a year. And I was like, yeah, a year. Meanwhile, it had been a while. And so I think that's why I felt like I needed to start there. My brain works so like this and this and this. Like I really sort of have trouble sometimes, like I have to work at thinking outside of the box. So I started in the box room. And then I was like, you know what? This is not a good place to start. I needed to start or continue in a spot where I was going to have the impact. So for you, like I get it. If you're completely overwhelmed and if you're paralyzed, you may just be like, ugh. You just want to start with like the biggest thing. I often recommend people start with what I call the most motivating area. And that is an area where you will be getting big results quickly, even if it's something really small, like a junk drawer. I had a student once who was like, I just kept walking by that drawer and opening it up. And she just loved it. Her and her husband, they were loving their junk drawer. But you can just start anywhere, I think, especially if it is an area where you are going to like have a huge impact and you're going to be like you can really enjoy it and that it motivates you to continue. So that's why I call it the most motivating area. By the way, I hope I told you, make sure you have some tea because this is going to get juicy. The other thing that you might want to consider is, are you super distracted by the area? Are you an entrepreneur like me, or do you work from home? Maybe you need to start in places where you need focus, which would probably still be an area that you spend a lot of time, obviously, if it's somewhere where you need to focus. And you would get that big bang for your buck because you would get that real hit of dopamine of getting that satisfaction, and you will be going there a lot. So maybe you want to focus on somewhere like that, like maybe your office or your dining room table, wherever you do your work. Even if you just like, you're a stay-at-home person and you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, like we all do, whether or not we stay home, maybe you want to start in the kitchen. If you're not going to be bogged down buy a bunch of sentimental items, then the kitchen can be a really good place to start. I think if you have focus problems, start wherever you need to focus most, because then you will be able to get the most benefit. And let's jump to my office so I can show you that. Welcome to my office. I love my office. I keep this room so tidy, so decluttered, so minimal. It does not have much in it. I have a plant, I have an armoire, painting, a desk. Try to keep my desk pretty clear. I mean, sometimes it does get some piles on it, but I prioritize keeping it clean because this is a spot where I need to focus. A lot of people are like, you know what? I have a lot of stuff and I don't know what to keep and I don't know how to let it go. And I completely understand that. You honestly, you need to ask yourself a couple of questions when you are decluttering, and they're really easy. It just takes some practice to get kind of good at it. So I want you to ask yourself, does this serve me? Does this add value to my life? That is how you can decide what you are keeping. Clothes, do they fit? Do you like them? Do you feel good in them? Sometimes we keep clothes because they cost a lot of money, but they don't look good on us. We literally are never going to wear them, but we still hang on to them. I literally bought a couple of shirts this last winter, did not try them on. I should have bought them in a different town. And I was like, wow, these do not suit me at all. And I could have like hung on to them for the long term, but then I was like, why? Like, yeah, like chalk it up to like try on clothes from out of town, right? But instead I was like, nope, I am going to declutter these. These are not serving me. Or you can be like, I'm gonna set them aside, see if I use them for the next season. But if they don't look good on you, like obviously, don't bother. Another thing, like you could even be like artwork or paintings. Like if you don't use artwork, like if you're keeping it put away, then you shouldn't keep it. I'm not doing the painting any favors by keeping it. So you need to honestly just make some tough decisions. Does this serve me? Does this add value? If it's duplicative things and you always reach for something else, is it something you should be keeping? Probably not. But you also have to practice self-control. I want you to be realistic with what you're keeping. I want you to resist the urge to keep things you know you should be decluttering. It is seriously like me knowing that I have like a couple of hangnails that I need to really resist chewing on, because I know if I chew on them, it's literally just gonna make the problem worse. But I just keep doing it. Ugh. Self-control, right? Go through those questions. And if it's sentimental, that's a completely different thing. Sentimental things, there aren't very many of them. They are true treasures. They should fit on your dining room table, as the great Peter Walsh says. But other things, you need to just be realistic. Should I keep this? It's not serving anybody, right? And so I want you to really ask yourself, if you're wanting to keep something and you kind of feel like you shouldn't, is it worth keeping that just because you want to have the memories associated with something, or because you paid a lot of money for it? I want you to ask yourself, like, is it worth it? Wouldn't you like to have a clean house? Isn't it worth getting rid of all of that extra stuff so that you can enjoy your environment? Now, another thing I want you to remember, don't get overwhelmed. Now, I know you might be like, Robyn, you have not seen my house. I get it, right? Like, we can be overwhelmed. We had a lot of stuff to declutter. Like, we're a family of 5. Rome wasn't built in a day. I know people say that all the time, but you know, it's like, I used to get my eyebrows waxed, and with the last couple of years and all the crazy stuff going on, I was like, I guess I need to start blacking my eyebrows. I hate it. First of all, I'm really bad at doing the left side. I find I get the best luck doing it in the car. So I either have to use my left hand or my right hand, but my right hand doesn't like want to move in that direction. My left hand isn't very good either. I mean, my right eye is just going to have to look better. That's what it's going to be. Right hand, so much better. Left hand, bad. I do it bit by bit. I literally cannot do all of them in a day. And it's just like that with decluttering. Just do it bits at a time. 30-minute increments. If you're on a roll, keep going, but don't make it an event of it. Don't be like, I'm gonna do it every weekend, every day for the next 3 months until it's done. Don't do that. Instead, what I recommend is just spend a couple of minutes every day, 5 to 30, preferably 30. But you know, some days you're gonna be not feeling well, or you're gonna be busier, and maybe you can only do 5 minutes. Just make sure that you're consistently doing it every day, and then you will make it happen. It will be wonderful. You are going to have an amazing decluttered house. For me, I consider myself a reasonable minimalist. We don't have a lot of extra stuff. We have all of the stuff we need. Personally, the front room where I was filming earlier with the shelves and stuff behind me, that drives me nuts. I'm taking care of that. But for now, we have what we have, right? And we honestly, we only have what we use in our house. It's wonderful. And I think that you can get there. And if you recognize why you need to declutter in the first place, and you go through the steps of where to start, how to do it, keeping yourself motivated, all of that, you will have huge, huge success. This is my decluttering playlist. I think you will like it because it really, I've got a lot of videos on there about how you can get your place decluttered. And this is my ADHD playlist if you are interested in that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.